Hello, NCLEX takers. So I just wanted to continue with the story about how I started off with my NCLEX or an exams revision. So I started off with I finally, when I did my plans on how many questions I wanted to do in a day, I finally settled at 75 questions per day for me to complete 75 questions per day, and those 75 questions were like spread all throughout the day. And I sometimes I wasn't even able to complete the 75 questions because of time constraints. I had other things to complete, and sometimes it was merely due to the fact that the questions that I began with were quite complex, and I really needed to understand the rationales of the answers, the correct answers to the question. And that meant that I had to go over them again, and I had to go into extra readings and extra studies of that one question. And so I ended up not being able to complete the 75 questions per day. And apart from that, the other thing that I did was, so I wrote down the topics. So altogether, when I studied for my NCLEX RN exams, I had 15 topics altogether. And they were the 15 topics for adults. And then I studied the pediatrics separately, and I studied the maternity and obs and gynae separately as well. Now, remembering that with each system in the human body, there were different medications involved. So with each system, I studied say for example, the cardiovascular system, and then I studied the cardiovascular medications, the neurological problems, and I studied the neurological medications, the respiratory problems, and I also studied the respiratory medications, and so on and so forth, with all the different systems, and also the different when it comes to pediatrics cases, and also with obs and gynae cases as well. And so after I've written down the topics that I wanted to study, I sat back a bit, and I tried to gauge my knowledge of each system, and I realized that I really needed to start off my revision being very, very clear, and have a very good understanding about the cardiovascular system. Now, that was me. If you're preparing for NCLEX RN exams, you probably have been working in the telemetry unit, or you have been working in critical care unit or emergency unit, and you already know so many things about the cardiovascular system and the cardiovascular medication. And when you plan to do your NCLEX RN exams, you don't really need to start off with a cardiovascular system. You can you start off with something that you think you are not really that well versed in. So with me, after I did a little bit of self-reflection with where I am with in terms of my knowledge about the different systems, I realized I just needed to start off with a cardiovascular system, because it was just like really complicated. I had a tie between the cardiovascular system and the neurological system. But then the good thing with when I started off with my NCLEX RN exams revision, I was actually also doing my degree in dementia, and one of our core units all throughout the degree was neurobiology. And in neurobiology, we went into very detailed studies of the nervous system, the neurological system, things to do with the spinal cord, and anything and everything to do with the neurological system. So I was kind of at an advantage with that, because through my degree, because I was also doing my degree along with studying for my NCLEX RN exam. So through that degree, I was studying the neurological system, and I just started off with a cardiovascular system when I started off. And I really, really made sure that I was at a good place with my cardiovascular system problems and the medications, the side effects of the medications, adverse effects, the values, the lab values, and all those things. And then I went on to my respiratory system. That was the second one that I did. I think I spent about a month doing a revision about the cardiovascular problems and their medications before I went on to the respiratory system. And my neurological system was taken care of from my studies through my degree, and then I continued on from there. And I also realized, like, when I started off with the cardiovascular system, and then the respiratory system and the neurological system, like those three systems and the problems and the medications, once I knew I was at a good place with those three, it sort of made it easier for me to then navigate the rest of the different systems and the what do you call it, the issues, the problems, and the medications. And and so I was studying, and at the same time I was also doing the 75 questions on the side each day. This was a daily thing because I gave myself 3 months. I set for my NCLEX in March, end of March. I gave myself 3 months from after. I think I didn't really study that much in December of the previous year, but I gave myself, January, February, and the whole of March. I finished my study literally when I stepped through the door of the NCLEX RN exam room to go and sit for my NCLEX RN exams. So that's when I stopped studying. So, yeah. And I think the other I was at a disadvantage with the fact that I was doing a degree and I was studying for my NCLEX RN exams, and I had 2 kids and I was working full time, and I was not working in the clinical setting. That was a major disadvantage for me. I've reached 7 minutes. I'm gonna have to continue this in the next video. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.